Whenever you're ready.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of 11,000 and Counting. It's been a minute, but I am your host, as always, Alec Costival. To my virtual left is Matthew Watson. Back again, once again. The vibes are great, but the loss count is up, and we're at 11,239 franchise losses for your Philadelphia Phillies. But hey, things are looking up. The Phillies have just hit a high point in their season, 12 games over 500, and the Twins are coming to town. But fresh off of a game tonight is Matt Watson. Let's hear what he has to say. What are you feeling down at Citizens Bank Park?
We have, and I quote, high hopes for the rest of this season. Let me
Bold.
tell you, let me tell you, like tonight, it was a Thursday night. It was wet. It was rainy. There's 30,000 people there. And the start of the game, like, we're kind of getting shut down by Patrick Corbin. And I'm like, what is happening? And then we just hit a switch. And at that moment, I'm like, you know what? This team is legit because I know it's just the Nationals tonight, but they have found their groove offensively, and there is no lead that is safe when you're playing the Philadelphia Phillies. This team will fight to the last out, and they didn't have to tonight. It was a nice, comfortable win for the most part, but man, this is the team that I envisioned watching on open like before opening day. Like this is that squad. And if we can just get a little tune up from our pitching, this is enough that we can make the World Series again. Like that is where I'm at with this team.
Why not? Why is the window not busted wide open right now and all the bugs are flying through and they aren't going to leave, obviously. Anyway, because of the win tonight, the Phillies are now 4 games ahead in the wild card, secured. 4 games there. They're a game and a half now in front of the Giants for the first wild card position, which I is what I did predict the Phillies to finish this year in the first wild card position. Um, but I want to get ahead a little bit because they're back to single digits back in the division. They're 9.5 back. I
Yeah,
I know it's dumb. I know it's dumb, but I want it. I want to be greedy. Look at the last 2 weeks of the season and tell me there's not a chance.
they would have to enter September with down no more than 6 games.
Yeah, no, I would. Yeah,
Like,
listen, it's unlikely, ridiculously unlikely.
I'll tell you what though, the Braves have not been that good in the second half. They really haven't. Like, if you
They do
look,
have Max Fried back, but you
they
know
do.
what? I still don't believe that like Olson won't hit a patch at some point. Acuna, he's a freak athlete. He's having a special season. I'm not gonna discount him, but I
He's
don't
kind of
know.
lost a step too. Like, I feel like he's lost a lot of momentum, and Matt Olson's been the kind of the carrier of that team for the last couple of weeks here. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Acuna is having a generational year. Like, he is having an all-time season, but Matt Olson is kind of their guy right now.
40
Like,
home runs. He has
yeah,
the same amount as Otani, and 50 is in very much reach.
that's a lock.
It's a lock for someone to hit 50 home runs is a special season.
Hmm.
But I don't know. There's part of me that just wants to not believe in the Braves, but we'll see. Let's That is just jumping so far ahead. But what isn't jumping ahead is Michael Lorenzen might be the best starting pitcher on the Phillies right now.
Dude, I gave the deadline a C minus.
I was okay with it. Like I wasn't super excited, but I didn't think it was a C minus. That's harsh.
Well, I mean, Rodolfo Castro is not good.
Oh
Like,
no,
I'll
he
get that
isn't.
out there.
But neither
Um,
is Bailey Falters. So
no, no, he's not. But in my mind, it just didn't. Nothing happened. Like, it was just like, oh, okay, so that happened. But the really the only move that I considered that they made was adding Lorenzen, which at the time I didn't love it, giving up our fifth prospect for him, and I'm not gonna like write off the trade yet. Like, it's been two fantastic start. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, there's a reason this guy was in the mid fours with his ERA before the season began. in Comerica, which is more of a pitcher-friendly park than it is a hitter-friendly park. So
He was
I'm
with the Reds for the majority of career, which is a very hitter-friendly park.
that's
Just to
true.
throw the
That's
other
true.
side there.
But I don't know. I love what I see, what I'm seeing right now. I love the fact that he hasn't shook off JT through straight starts. I love that he has a new grip on his changeup. I love that he has been welcomed into this team with open arms. I love everything about Lorenzen right now, and I hope he continues at this pace. And I hope that I'm proven wrong. Not that I thought he was a bad pitcher. I just didn't think adding him really like moved the needle in the Phillies' direction. But
Yeah, I
I've
get what
been
you're
wrong
saying.
through two starts. I mean, he looks like if you purely just go off of everybody's last two starts, Lorenzen is the guy you want taking the ball in game one. Obviously, that's going to go to Wheeler, but there's talk that Lorenzen might get the ball before Nola at this rate.
Listen, tonight Nola didn't even look sharp again against the Nationals. Unless he reels off like some really great September performances, I'm worried. I'm worried he's in '09 Hamels. And
Yeah,
I don't know. That's again looking too far ahead. We're talking about Michael Lorenzen here. Um, really wonderful start to his time in Philly pinstripes, Philly red pinstripes. One earned run in 17 innings pitched, a .647 WHIP. But that's not what's most impressive. This streak has gone further back than just these two games since being traded. His last 6 game starts in 40 and two-thirds innings pitched, he has a 1.11 ERA, a .143 batting average against, .43 OPS against, and that's just 5 earned runs in 6 starts. Like he is on a stretch right now where he is pitching to contact. He's not getting hit hard. When he is, it's directly at players. We saw Rojas get worn out during the no hitter. He set a record during a no hitter for most outs uh, by a position player. Nine outfield like recorded outs. Ridiculous.
hmm
Um, but he's just rolling right now. And you know what? I think he was traded to the perfect place for him. Think about it. The pitching coach for the Phillies is Caleb Cotham, who was a player in Cincinnati when Lorenzen was coming up and starting his career. Now he's his pitching coach. How close of a relationship could you possibly have being a former teammate, being in the same bullpen? And then you add Brandon Marsh, who was a teammate with the Angels. I think Castellanos was a teammate. I'm not sure with either the Reds or the Tigers, one of them. I I don't know if there's anyone else on the team, but he has guys in this clubhouse that like he can kind of depend on. And we go back to that Caleb Cotham example. Caleb Cotham was basically like, "Hey, you didn't used to grip that changeup like that. Hey, this is how you used to do it." And now all of a sudden he's doing this. I I don't know what to say except, great job, Dombrowski. I know it's the number 5 prospect they traded away in the Philly system, but Jin Hwan Bay, or not Jin Hwan Bay, that's the Pirates
How you, Lee?
young rookie. Yes, Lee. Got mixed up there for a second. But Lee didn't really have much power to speak of. He was like a 280 hitter, like and good defensively, had some good speed, but realistically, it's not a first tier second baseman or middle infielder.
No.
Maybe he's a league average starter, and that's probably his ceiling.
And he nowhere to
Meanwhile,
go. Like with Stott and Turner, he has nowhere to go.
no, he's blocked, completely blocked. There's no way he would break with the Phillies. Anyway, you get a guy now that maybe this is his audition. Like, what are we not to say this is Michael Lorenzen's, start of his career? I know it's rare that guys really turn it on to the late half of their career, but look at a guy like Jamie Moyer, a former Philly, who started his career in the mid 80s, but really didn't turn it on to the late 90s. You know, this is a guy after his no hitter was saying he always wanted to be a starter. He always wanted to be a starter. And now he's getting his chance.
You never
Again,
know.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we have one starter who's on a contract year who's struggling. We have another starter on a contract year who's thriving. And think about it, since Lorenzen was traded, we can't offer him a qualifying offer. So we don't get anything if he goes somewhere else. Nola will get a pick. It's not much, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I've been, I feel like my thoughts on Nola have been like,
I don't dislike Nola. I
I I
don't.
I don't either. He's such a good pitcher. It just he can be so frustrating, and I think that the fact that he doesn't show emotion out on the mound, right? Like he is so like locked in all the time, and he doesn't like wear his emotions on his sleeve like a Harper. Um, it's just so hard to like know what he's thinking during these situations. Because like if you take away just the one bad inning that he has a game, he is like a dominant pitcher. Like he's given up. I don't know off the top of my head how many home runs. A lot of home runs this year. 26. Um, that's just a ton. If he could just remove that from his game, if he could keep the ball in the ballpark, he would be such an effective pitcher. And I will say for tonight, he didn't have his best stuff, but I do think the defense let him down in key spots too,
Oh yeah,
and they kept
absolutely.
extending, like the
The
innings kept
Harper
extending.
play,
Yeah,
the
Weston
Wilson
Wilson,
play.
I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. So he probably could have gone another inning had that not been the case, because he entered the sixth with 100 pitches, which I for one think Rob Thompson needs to chill with Nola. I think he
I
needs to
think he
stop,
just thought he had the extra rest, so he'd give him a shot.
and I get
Um,
that, but I just feel
because
like a
they
lot of
were
his starts
getting,
they just keep pushing a little too far. I think they need to pull that back a little bit.
yeah, it's true. The one thing I'll say is that they knew Vargas was coming up that inning after Smith, and he kills lefties. So you're warming up a lefty in the pen. You'd rather have that righty stay in and face him. And he did end up, bringing in that run for the Nats. But anyway, uh, we can talk more of that at a future date. That's still off on the horizon. We got to get through the year first. Let's go to the hitters because I want to talk about a stat that people don't like anymore, but I still think has some importance.
Are you
It's not,
talking about what I think you're talking about?
listen, I know people don't like batting average anymore, but look at this. Let me give you the National League ranks right now for the Phillies' top five hitters in batting average. Bryson Stott is hitting 300. He is fifth in the National League. Immediately behind him is Alec Boehm hitting 293, sixth. Harper also hitting 293, different sample size, seventh. That's three players in the top 10 in batting average. You can't tell me that does not generate runs and make a difference because it does. Especially Boehm, who's doing it with runners in scoring position.
Very
A
true.
walk in runner's scoring position compared to a hit is completely different.
No, it's very different. I'm with you on this. I love batting average still because you can be like Schwarber's a good example, right? You could be a good player and have a bad batting average, but you can't be a bad player and have a good batting average. If
Billy
you
Mays here, but wait, there's more. Brandon Marsh hitting 281 is 16th, and Castellanos is hitting 276 at 23rd. That is five of the Phillies' top hitters. Pretty much all of the starters except Schwarber. That's them, the top 25 in the National League. There are 15 teams in the National League. So you're telling me that, that's the two top hitters on each team. That's 30. The Phillies have five in the top 25.
it's pretty sweet.
And the power's coming back too.
Oh
Like
my
let's talk
gosh.
let's talk about Castellanos right now.
20. He's up to 20.
He's up to 20. He had 13 last year. It was a weird season for him, newborn kid at home. I think it was just, rough time being a new dad, moving to a new city. That's fine. We still got to a World Series and he's making it up this year. Let's forget about July though, because that was terrible.
It was so it scared me a little bit with
It did.
Castellanos because I was
It
like,
did.
oh, bro. But no,
But
he's back. We're
after,
chilling.
hitting past midnight at his home's batting cage or somewhere in his neighborhood, somewhere near his home, uh, he's now hitting 316, 6 home runs, 12 RBI in 10 games.
I do want to throw one thing out with Castellanos. I'm
Mhm.
glad he's hitting for power. It's
Oh,
great
absolutely.
because it's especially in the 4 hole, it's been pivotal. He has not hit a double since July 2nd.
Stop lying to me.
I'm not not
I,
lying.
I need, if you're gonna be the co-host of the show, I need you to stop lying.
It's the
That is
truth,
that is wild.
right? Like, because I was
He's
thinking
just
about it.
hitting them out.
Yeah, he's just putting over the wall now, which
He
I'm
was
cool
he
with
was like the doubles leader in
in
all of
baseball
Major League Baseball
for a
for like
while.
3 months.
Yeah, and then he just hasn't hit them in over a month, which again, well, let's see, in that time, because the last game he had a double was July 2nd. He had a homer in that game as well. So it's one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 home runs in that span.
I That doesn't comprehend. That's wild. The weird thing though about that list of, batting average though, out of that entire list, 5 guys in the top 25 for batting average, only one is in the top 25 for OPS in the National League, and that's Brandon Marsh. So the three top hitters on the team by batting average have a worse OPS than Brandon Marsh. I don't know, it's weird, but I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, and Bryce Harper, especially Alec Boehm. Seeing him starting to hit closer to 300 again. Ooh, I don't even care if the 25, 30 home run power ever comes about now. Like, that's fine. 20 home runs and 290. Give me that every year.
Yeah, I will say one thing with Bohm, I do I love him in the 2 hole, and I think that was a great move, and I feel like it was a move that was made a little too late. Like I feel like that they should have gone to that sooner, but you know what? They did it. It's working and it's fine. Bohm is such an anomaly, I feel like, because he only has a .3 WAR on the season. I feel like he's been a
And
much
I
better
thought he's
player than
been
that.
better defensively than what like they rate him metrics wise. Like he's still not like a good defender at third, but he sure feels like an average one at least.
He's definitely. I think there's a bias.
I think there's something. I know it's even between like I was looking it up between like D-WAR, defensive run saved. They don't like him there. Outs above average. He's rated as below average, but I mean it's definitely an improvement from last year,
Agreed.
and it's notable in those stats as well. But I look at him on the field by the eye test, and he looks like an average third baseman.
Yeah, one of those times where I don't think the analytics gets it right, and you have to have a feel for the game. I think Bohm. I I think he
I
does
think
have
defense in
7
general.
errors, but yeah, he's just been a lot better, and he's not only playing third, he's playing first base, and he's
So
playing a
this
pretty
was
solid first
maybe about
base.
a week ago, but he only had 3 errors at third and I think 3 at first,
Yeah, he's up to 7
if I remember.
total.
Okay,
So
so he must have
I
had
think he
one in
made
like the
one.
past week.
He made one at
Yeah.
first base. It was that flip to Taiwan
Yeah, and I'm
Walker.
not a fan of him at first base. I prefer him at third now, which if for me it isn't a wild thing to say because I have had faith that he'll learn the position at third for a while, but for a lot of people it's weird to think, oh, we thought this was going to be our first baseman of the future, not, actually a decent third baseman. But he's put in the work. He
Hmm.
really has, and that's just a testament to him really putting his nose to the grindstone.
Yeah, man.
But
One
love to
last
see
thing
it.
on Bohm.
Hmm.
He's at 12 home runs in the year. His career high is 13. He'll pass that.
Oh yeah.
Home run, or that was home runs. He had 24 doubles last year. It was his career high. He's at 20. He'll pass that. He
Hmm.
already has surpassed on the RBI total. He's surpassed 72 from last year. Um, he is hitting 293. He hit 280 last year. His OPS last year was 713. It's at
The
785.
on base percentage though, tell me that one.
On base percentage, 713. Or yeah, on base percentage is 713 last year, 785 this year. OPS plus 101 last year, 114 this year.
But just on base percentage.
Just on base percentage,
Yeah,
it's 315 last year, 345 this year. So that's a 30
that's
point increase.
yeah, yeah. He's getting on base 3% more of the time.
Yeah,
At
which when you say it
31%.
like
Yeah.
that, it doesn't
It's
sound,
but it's a lot.
but it's a lot.
Over 500, 600 at bats a year,
Hmm.
that's a lot. And he's walking a little bit more. He's taking a great approach at the plate. But there's other guys to talk about on this team because, again, we're doing great. The vibes are immaculate. Ever since we decided to, give a standing ovation to Trea Turner, I mean, it was a genuine from what I saw online, it was a genuine push. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't just, hey, we might as well do it since he's here for 10 years. No, it wasn't cynical like that. It was genuinely people like, hey, this guy's really struggling. We should help this guy out. And what we can do and what we know as fans we can do is just be loud as whatever, and just be obnoxious, but in the best way.
Hmm. No,
And
I
it
generally felt bad for Trey. Like it wasn't, there was
yeah,
no
he was
hatred.
dejected.
I just felt really bad.
Yeah, he never struggled like he had, but he bottomed out at a 235 batting average. Like he was struggling and of course blew a game and then, you know, 7 games since he started getting ovations, he's hitting 370 with a 393 on base percentage, a 741 slugging percentage with 6 extra base hits. Two of those are very big home runs. He's raised his OPS by 27 points in that time, and it's August, so it's a hard time to raise your stats by any significant number,
Hmm.
and that's what he's done so far. And maybe he's turned that corner. This is a guy that is, close to a 300 career hitter. This is a guy that has never circled around these numbers. Like the worst he's ever been around was like a 270 batting average.
Which I would take right now.
Exactly. So he knows it, he feels it, but I think we were able to help him
I
take a
agree.
little bit of the weight off the shoulders. And, it's not like we're saying it was all us. We're just saying, hey, this is great. And even Michael Lorenzen, after his no-hitter, was saying the fans really energized him to come back out in the seventh, eighth, and ninth innings, especially the eighth and ninth innings. Eighth inning, he was coming out with over 100 pitches. And
Yeah,
he finished with what, 124?
124. Yeah, most pitches thrown by anybody this season.
Yeah. And I think most thrown in a no-hitter since Cole Hamels threw 129.
I feel
I
like that.
could be
I
wrong.
feel like no. I feel like that's correct. Which it's crazy because, in my opinion, 124 pitches is not a lot. In today's game, it's like insane. But in my opinion, like if you're a good starter, you should be able to hit the 120 mark.
I think in certain situations, especially in the postseason, you should be able to,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's like a mandatory thing anymore. Now, go back 20, 30 years. Yeah, you should be able to, not every single time, but every other time at least you should be able to.
Yeah,
Um,
I think in today's game, it's kind of forbidden to do so. But in a game where bullpens get so stressed out and so used up so much, you would think the easy solution would be to allow your starters to go a little longer, but they don't do that. So
but it's also Michael Lorenzen who his high pitch count of the year was 101. He threw over 20 more pitches
yeah,
than what he's used to. Thank God he's not starting until next week in DC against the Nationals.
hmm
Can't wait for that.
no, I agree. And I think Lorenzen kind of has an old school mentality when it comes to
Oh
pitching.
yeah,
Like,
it's like
doesn't
pitch to
try to blow up
contact.
by it. Yeah, pitch to contact, good location with his pitches, keeps the ball in the park, and lets trust his defense to get the job done. Which is
Hmm.
why he's a guy that I think one of the reasons why we've seen Rob Thompson trust him to go deep in the games, and two, I think it doesn't tax his arm so much, so he still has that juice for the eighth and the ninth to where he can go out there and get the job done like we saw. And so that and some pretty good defense by the Phils. paired really well. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the Lorenzen right now.
Oh, absolutely. But let's go back to the game because, of course, we need to talk about Weston Wilson because that was going to be his game until Lorenzen threw a no-hitter because Weston Wilson became the first Philly since Marlon Anderson to homer in his first ever career plate appearance. That's 1998. That's 25 years ago.
Yeah,
So that's wild. And then also he walks twice, scores 3 runs total, and steals a base.
Ricky was very
He
happy
made
about that.
Ricky Amodeo a very happy man at plus
Very rich man.
950 for a stolen base.
That was cool. That was really cool.
This is a Ricky Amodeo podcast sponsored. He's
Shout out
paying
Ricky.
us. And now it's official, so he has to.
He does.
Anyway, uh yeah, no, that was amazing just to see. It was wonderful. Of course, also in that game, Castellanos homers for his 200th home run. Uh, his son is all over the place. He was celebrating with both Lorenzen's mom and wife and Weston Wilson's family, whose dad, breaking down.
Yeah, that
Their
got me.
reactions were great. The game was just so emotional, so wonderful. There's it might be top 5 like regular season games in Phillies history.
No, it like I wrote about it today. I think that August 9th, 2023 is a day that will forever live in Phillies history. And it's gonna be a very like it's just gonna be one of those days where you always talk about like, oh, you remember this game when Lorenzen did this and Weston Wilson or
People are
you
gonna
probably
remember Weston Wilson now.
well, I was gonna say it's gonna be like, oh, who was that guy? He homered in his first half because not that
Throw up
no
them W's.
no shot at Weston Wilson, but I don't think he's gonna. I think he's more of a footnote in Phillies history than a guy who's gonna have a long-term career here. But
Oh
um,
no, Weston Wilson, Wilson Valdez. We'll
yeah.
remember
Well,
all the
people aren't
Wilsons.
gonna get the name right. They're gonna go Wilson like Wilson something. What was his
Wilson
name?
Weston.
Yeah, people are gonna. It's Philly, so
It's
people.
gonna turn into Will West.
Yeah, it's gonna be something like that. But and then like the fact that Castellanos hit his 200th home run and nobody's talking about it is so funny to me.
Yeah, it is because it just happened. In the midst of all of this, it just happened. And we're like, oh, sick. He hit his 200th home run. For like 5 minutes, we remembered that until we realized all the other things that had been going on.
I know.
But it's just absolutely wild. Um, but yeah, no, even in the historical context of Phillies games, regular season, um, there's a few that I want to mention that are kind of older school that people might not remember. Uh, the earliest one I'll go with is the if the Phillies come back, I will walk home to Pittsburgh. Of course, the radio announcer or TV announcer, I forget which of the Pittsburgh Pirates, said that while the Pirates were up by 10 runs on the Phillies, and the Phillies came back to win that game. And later in the season, in the off season, he actually had a charity and walked from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh in a great organized event. But that's a very interesting one going back to the 70s, the over 40 run game in Wrigley Field where the Phillies beat the Cubs like 23-21, something around that. An absolutely wild game that needs to be mentioned in the history of the Phillies. 1972, the Rick Wise no-hitter, the Rick Wise game, in which this man had the best day of any damn player in baseball history, hitting 2 home runs while throwing a no-hitter.
A Shohei Ohtani
Wild.
stat.
Hey, listen, hey man, that probably got us Lefty from the Cardinals after that performance. So, but anyway, um, yeah, those of course, if you go back to 1950, which I don't know too much about, but Dick Sisler hit I believe a walk-off home run to put the Phillies in the World Series um that year. So there's a lot of different ones, but there's just so much layered in one game that it's just beautiful. But yeah, there's more players we need to talk about. because there's just guys doing things. Like Johan Rojas is getting called up. He's hitting 316, 7 runs scored, 5 stolen bases. Like that's 21 games and he's hitting 316.
I'm in love
Nobody
with Johan
ex
Rojas.
His defense is fantastic. I believe Topper said he's like a top two defensive center fielder already. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
man.
what I was hearing like 2 years ago is that people were saying, yeah, he's already MLB defensive ready. He just needs to like adjust to hitting and like actually be able to hit for average.
Although I will say this, I love Johan Rojas, but dude, he needs to get the bunts down. It's two straight bunt attempts that he's
If
popped up.
he could learn to bunt, he'd be like when I played with Hanley Ramirez and MLB The Show two or not the show, but 2K7. Hanley Ramirez was my guy every time I bunted with him. And I think he had a 750 batting average that year and had like three, no, it was closer to 400 stolen bases. It was great. It was great.
Good
Good
old days.
times. But yeah, Johan Rojas. Let's talk about Craig Kimbrell. Since since May 9th, Craig Kimbrell has been fantastic. He has a 1.70 ERA in 37 innings and 16 saves. 51 strikeouts at that time, so he's getting swings and misses too. Only batters are hitting 135 against him in that time span. He got unlucky the other night because
Yeah.
he had Joey Meneses struck out at the top of the zone, and then the next pitch he accidentally hung a curveball.
Yeah. I mean, he did get screwed on that, but I was also frustrated with his pitch location for the next one, the Meneses.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
But
yeah,
it happens,
it
That's
happens.
baseball.
But yeah, I don't blame him for that. He's still going strong. I mean, the last guy I have on my list is a guy that I had written off for this season. I was like, what are the Phillies going to do with this guy? He's locked into a contract. What in the world are we going to do? Taiwan Walker has been really good. He has a 2.4 B WAR on the season. He is a 3.98 ERA, so he's under 4. He leads Major League Baseball in wins. Pitcher wins, the thing that used to be like the main thing people voted for when voting for Cy Young. He somehow leads it, even though it means nothing in this day and age.
This was 2000, he'd win Cy Young.
He might. Since June 6th, he has 11 games started, 69.1 innings pitched, 9-1 in that span, with a 2.60 ERA. He only allowed 5 home runs in those 11 games. In his first 12 starts, he allowed 10 home runs. So he's limiting the long ball.
Mhm.
He's really giving the Phillies chances to win.
Yeah. It feels like if you remember that Giants game where he pitched like
I
two
don't
thirds in the
want to
first inning.
remember any of that Giants series. How dare you curse that upon me?
Well, I'll wrap this back around to the Giants in a minute, but it feels like since then, because Walker came out and started like 3 days later because only threw like 40 pitches. And I feel like since then, it really was the kind of like the turning point for Walker. He had hit like rock bottom, quote unquote, and then he has just like he
Oh
has
no, it
this.
was a 7 ERA above. Like
Yeah,
no, he
it was
was rock
bad.
bottom.
Yeah, and then he slowly just turned it around, and I would argue he's been the Phillies' best starting pitcher this season. Like if you Wheeler has outings where he's more dominant, um, but I think just consistency wise, Walker has probably been the most consistent, I would say, on the team this year. Wheeler's been better, but really had some like bad like not Wheeler. Like he's not Wheeler, if that makes sense.
I
But
feel like he has been consistent though, if we're gonna go by that. Like he's been like somehow giving up a couple more hits, but like the stuff's been there for the most part. He hasn't blown anyone away, but he's been consistently at least decent.
yeah,
So
I think you know what you're getting with Walker versus Wheeler. It can be like, is he gonna shove 7 today? Or is he only gonna go 5 and let up 3 and have 5 strikeouts,
yeah, 4 singles in a row. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, just things are going all right now, and it's just I know it's a soft part of the schedule, and I'm sure we're gonna get punched in the face at some point because it's the Phillies. We can't just have nice things.
Nope.
That's not how it works. Uh, but the Twins are coming in. The Twins lead the AL Central, but that means absolutely nothing. Are they 500 or like a game or two above 500? They
They are like right there. Uh,
Because
I
they
can
have
find it.
not been that great of a team.
No, they're gonna win by default
Yeah.
in their division.
You know what? I still think the Tigers could catch them if they really wanted to try. They had Michael Lorenzen still.
They are 60 and 57, but they've lost three in a row.
68 and 50, or no.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
60
60
and
and 50.
57.
Yeah, three
Okay,
games above, but they've lost three in a
gotcha.
row. So we're catching them at a good time.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, another team that's not terrible to face, and I do think the Phillies could really start to run away at the wild card if they keep going all right. One thing, to note before we head out, Bryce Harper was taken out of the game today with back spasms, mild back spasms. We'll see. I feel like that was almost like a diagnosis to just be like, yeah, he really hurt his face on that play, but he doesn't want to say it, so we're
He doesn't
calling it
want
a
to be,
back
yeah,
spasm.
a ghost injury. Yeah. I would not be shocked if he DHs tomorrow and then he's back at first base on Saturday or whatever.
Yeah, or
Um,
even if he gets a rest day.
yeah, I'm not too worried about
I
it.
think we'll be fine. I was in the back at my job when that happened, and my one coworker was watching the TV. He was just like, Harper just got nailed in the face, and I'm like, no, Junior Fernandez, where, why, what? I thought it was a pitcher that hit him in the face. I was like, no. I was about to run to Philadelphia to throw hands, but then it was just him making a fielding mistake, and I'm like, okay, he's learning the position. It's fine.
Yeah, it was kind of ugly, but you know what? It happens.
It
I'm not gonna beat
happens.
up on
It's
Bryce.
baseball. Yeah, he's again learning a whole nother position. Quick thoughts. Do you think he comes back this season to play right field?
I do not know.
Second part of that question, if he's not playing right field, do you think the Phillies will actually try to bring back Rhys Hoskins if he's ready?
Yes, they would bring him back, in my opinion.
And then Schwarber would have to play left again.
Well, I'm not even necessarily thinking Hoskins played. I think he's just the guy off the bench,
Oh, okay.
just a right-handed weapon for late in the game that you could be bringing. Because I just don't know if he would
Because
have enough
yeah, they
build
wouldn't
up.
have room in the DH regardless. So you're saying that he's just the first guy off the bench to pinch hit.
Right. You would sacrifice
Yeah, and
having
that's
a
less
runner or
stress on his
defender.
body, than
Yeah,
actually playing a position.
I don't think he's gonna suit up at first base. So you
Okay.
leave Bryce at first, Schwarber in the DH, and in my opinion, you have
First man up.
Martian left, Rojas in center.
Or if there's a tough lefty, maybe you sit him, sit Schwarber from DH and put Hoskins.
You
I don't
could,
know. Maybe.
but
But
we'll see.
that's getting ahead of ourselves again. But, imagine the vibes if Rhys Hoskins returns on top of all of this. Oh, I can't wait. But we have time in the future to paint the town red. And for now, I think it's time to bid you adieu. Of course, I'm Alec Oswald. That's Matthew Watson. We hope to join you again soon for 11,000 counting.
Go Phils.
Go Phils.